Ever get that, like, little jolt of worry when you misplace your keys? Or you blank on a familiar name?
Oh, yeah.
Like this little whisper, right? Like, what if this is the beginning of something bigger? And that's what we're diving into today, this study about Alzheimer's that's making some, honestly, seriously big waves.
Yeah, the thing that's really exciting here is that it kind of moves beyond just prevention.
Right.
It's hinting at the potential for actually, like, improving brain function in people who are already showing signs of Alzheimer's.
That's huge. Exactly. And we're not talking vague theories. Like, this is a real deal clinical trial. It was published just this year. They actually took 51 people, and all these people were diagnosed with either MCI, which is, it's kind of like a milder form of cognitive impairment,
Yeah.
or they had early stage Alzheimer's, and they put them through their paces.
Yeah, and to be clear, this was, randomized and controlled, this study, meaning they split these participants up into two groups. One's getting the intervention, one's getting, like a placebo or standard care. Really helps to isolate the effects of these lifestyle changes that we're going to kind of dive into here.
Okay, so let's talk about this lifestyle makeover. Think less New Year's resolution and more like wellness boot camp, you know?
Yeah.
So for 20 weeks, this intervention group went all in on a strict, like completely vegan diet.
Wow.
And to really, I guess, control those variables, the researchers actually provided all their meals.
Interesting. So they took that part out of the equation.
Yeah.
Now, if you're thinking veganism isn't for me, that's totally fair. I mean, the key takeaway here isn't necessarily about going completely plant-based, right?
Right.
But it's really understanding that those dietary choices, they can have a real impact on your brain health.
Okay.
And there are tons of ways to incorporate, brain-boosting foods, even if you don't want to go full vegan.
And that was just like one piece of the puzzle. So they also had supervised exercise, stress-busting techniques like meditation and stuff, and even group support sessions. Can you believe it? It was a full-on mind-body overhaul. Oh, and did I mention the supplements?
Oh, there are supplements too.
Oh, yeah. They were taking fish oil, vitamin B12. They even threw in some lion's mane mushroom extract. This lion's mane mushroom thing, it's kind of intriguing. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, lion's mane gets a lot of buzz for its potential cognitive benefits.
Okay.
And some early studies, early studies suggest it might, promote nerve growth and even improve memory, but we always need more research.
Right.
Always need more.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they threw every brain-boosting trick in the book at these folks. But before we get to, like, how well it worked or didn't work, let's kind of, I don't know, talk about why this, like, combo of lifestyle changes even matters in the first place, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. It really isn't about, like, the individual ingredients, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about kind of looking at the bigger picture. Like, each of these things, diet, exercise, dealing with your stress, social connection, those all matter when it comes to, like, overall brain health.
Okay, so the big question. Did all this effort, like, did it actually make a difference? Like, did it work?
So the short answer is yeah. In this study, it really did.
Okay.
But before we, like, pop the champagne and celebrate, it's important to remember this was a pretty short study.
Okay.
Small sample size, we got to keep that in mind.
Right.
But the results are really promising.
Give me the highlights. Like, what kind of improvements did they actually see?
So one of the ways they measured how everyone was doing, cognitively was this test. It's called the ADS-COG.
Okay.
And it's kind of the, I guess you could say, like, the gold standard for Alzheimer's research.
Right.
It looks at things like, memory, language, being able to navigate where you are, that kind of stuff.
So how'd the lifestyle group do? The ones making all the changes. How'd they do on that test?
So they showed significant improvement.
Oh.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is that their scores on this ADS-COG thing, they actually got even better the more they stuck to the program.
So it's like that classic, like more you put in, more you get out kind of scenario.
Exactly. They found a strong dose-response relationship.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, not everyone improved at the same rate,
Yeah.
which makes sense.
Right.
Brains are complicated.
Yeah.
There's genetics, individual differences obviously play a part.
Totally. But still, like, seeing that direct connection, between those lifestyle changes and how much their thinking and memory actually improved, that's going to be pretty encouraging for people, right?
Right.
Like, you're not just a passenger on this train. You can actually grab the wheel a little bit, maybe steer things, in a better direction.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And speaking of, kind of taking control, let's talk about those biomarkers for a second.
Oh, yeah. The, what was it called? The ratio.
Yeah. The A beta 40/40 ratio, right?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, that's the ratio of amyloid beta proteins in the blood, and it's a big deal when it comes to Alzheimer's.
And what did they find with that exactly?
So this is where it really gets interesting.
Okay.
Okay, so in the group that you the lifestyle stuff, that ratio actually improved,
Wow.
meaning it shifted closer to a healthier balance.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, in the control group, the one that didn't make the changes, theirs got worse.
So hold on. So not only like their thinking and memory got better, but like their actual biology seemed to be shifting in a positive direction too.
That's exactly what the data suggests, yeah. And it's a pretty big deal. It kind of implies that all these changes they were making, it wasn't just masking the symptoms, you know.
Right.
Like it might actually be addressing what's happening in the brain, like some of those, underlying processes of the disease itself.
Okay, now I'm really starting to see why you were so excited about this research in the first place.
Yeah.
Because it's like, for so long, Alzheimer's has felt like this like scary, inevitable thing. And this study is suggesting that maybe, just maybe, we have a little bit more power to, to influence our brain health than we thought we did.
That's a good message. That's
Yeah.
a message worth, shouting from the rooftops. Because even while we wait, for larger studies,
Yeah,
longer term to see if these findings hold up,
right.
there's still so much we can do today to take care of our brains.
Exactly. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves here, let's bring it back down to earth for just a sec. This was just one study, right? I don't know, what are the caveats? What do we need to keep in mind?
Totally.
Yeah.
It's important to remember this was, it wasn't a huge study.
Right.
And 20 weeks is it's not that long, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Plus, not everyone, can just completely overhaul their entire life.
Right.
Absolutely. You can't generalize too much from, any one study, really.
Yeah.
And we definitely need more research to know, okay, do these findings actually,
Yeah.
do they hold up over time, over years, that kind of thing? And you're right, this type of program, it's not really realistic for a lot of people, probably.
But even with all of that, right, even with those caveats, there's something about this research that just feels hopeful,
Yeah.
Like, even if we can't, erase Alzheimer's completely, maybe we can, I don't know, nudge the odds a little in our favor,
I think that's a great takeaway.
Yeah.
This study, it's kind of opening up all these possibilities.
Yeah.
Like, what if we could, fine tune these lifestyle things even more and personalize it, right? And so it's based on your genes, and your risk factors, that kind of thing.
Oh, interesting.
What if we combined it with, some of those new medications and therapies that are coming out? Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like this study, it's almost like it gives us this little glimpse into, a future where maybe we're not just passively waiting to see if our memory just disappears. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're actively participating in keeping our brains healthy, hopefully for as long as possible.
And I'd even argue, it's not just about staving off disease.
Right.
It's about how do we just live better right now?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want, more energy, better sleep, to be able to think more clearly?
Right, exactly.
And these lifestyle changes, they have benefits that go way beyond, just this one disease.
That's a really good point. So as we're kind of wrapping up here, if you're listening to this and maybe you're feeling a little, I don't know, overwhelmed, where do I even begin? My advice is don't overthink it. Right?
Yeah.
Just pick one small thing,
Yeah.
one small change that, that feels doable, that feels sustainable for you, and go from there.
I love that. Yeah, maybe it's adding in a walk every day, or trying to eat some more fruits and veggies, or even just finding healthier ways to deal with stress.
Totally.
Even those little things can make a big difference over time.
Huge. And remember, this isn't about becoming some health nut,
Right.
It's not about being perfect. It's about just kind of, figuring out what works for you.
Yeah.
Listening to your body, and being a part of your own well-being, taking an active role.
I love that. That's beautifully said. It's about taking that, maybe that fear, maybe that feeling of helplessness,
Yeah.
and saying, no, I have some control here.
Right, exactly.
And that's what gives you the hope, because you do have more power than you think. I really believe that. To shape how your brain is going to age, to shape the future of your brain health.
I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah.
Super interesting stuff. Thanks for diving into this with me.
Yeah, of course. This was great. Thanks for having me.